My dear friends, Friday again, and I hope you're joining me on Truth Be Told Radio Network, like every Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Truth Be Told Radio Network. You miss for any reason? You can listen it again Saturday morning, 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. If there's something you like, please share the idea, share the broadcast, share the information. Someone might benefit from learning something that we're talking about, or at least give it a thought. It might be food for thought. So if you can help us with that, that's going to be a great service to us and to everyone that will listen to this type of message. You missed it again? No worry. You go to Spotify and search Truth Be Told Radio Network and you will find me there. I'm Dr. Rodrigo Rodriguez, and my job, my quest, my profession for many, many years is being a doctor. But to me, a doctor is to keep you healthy. To me, being a doctor is see how you can heal, see how you can repair, see how you can come back, see how you can restore functions and well-being, and etc. That, to me, is being a doctor. Writing a prescription and asking you to come back in a month, to me, that anyone could do that. A computer, a nurse, any help, anybody can do that. It's very simple. But that's not what medicine is all about. Medicine is about healing, is about prevention. Of course, it is about not being sick. Being a good doctor means you do not need me just for advice, just for guidance, just for conversational information that you're going to be able to put into action and be healthy. That's what it is all about. How am I going to be prepared during my lifetime to take advantage of this body that God entrusted to me, and just keep that health, keep that energy, keep that stamina and function well to service me and service the others around me. I'm sure most of you, I can hardly believe that anybody in this time and age has not been on an airplane. And you remember that every time people talk about those oxygen masks, they always tell you, put your mask first, then help the others. Why is that? Because when oxygen is lost in an airplane, God forbid, but when that happens, you only have probably a minute maximum of consciousness before you really have problems with cognition and everything. You will not be able to function anymore. So what you have to do, if you try to help somebody else, by the time you finish, you're lost. But if you put your mask first, and you can keep your whole sanity and strength and everything, then you can help not one, but two or three. You can help anybody around you, just because you're in good shape. Same happens with health. It is so frequent that we tell others what they should be doing, and then we don't look at ourselves, so our health goes down. Now, if you're the head of the family, if you're the father, if you're the mother, if you're the teacher, if you're the pastor of a congregation, you have an extra responsibility to be well, because a lot of things will depend on you. So let's see what we can do to be healthy, because if we don't do that, nothing is going to function, and probably everyone else around us will start just dropping like domino chips. So it's very important that you learn how to take care of yourself. These are not easy times. We have come out of a pandemic and all these problems that we had all these couple of years, and now we're facing a war. It seems that we're facing a war. And then you say, well, what can I do? Well, you know who's going to prevail? Those that are prepared. Same like in the pandemic. During the pandemic, those that prevail are those that were better prepared, that had the defense, that had the capacity to resist. Not only resist, but be resilient. Because you just have to, number one, resist the disease, and second, you have to come back and heal and be yourself again. So sometimes the disease is just the smallest part, but coming back of it can be very difficult. Nevertheless, whatever the scenario, the better prepared you are, the better you're going to be able to meet the challenges that all these things happen. And I was talking about war, and I'm looking at the news, probably like you, and I'm looking at what they do, and I always try to see behind the picture, behind the scene, behind the everything. And then you learn that to fight a war, weapons are important, aircraft is important, soldiers are very important, you see, but if you don't have anything behind, so everything can work, you lost. And what's that? That's fuel. I cannot imagine how many gallons of fuel you need to move an aircraft carrier, an aircraft that are normally supersonic aircraft, and tanks, and any sort of transportation that these people need. And they also need electricity, they need a lot of power, they need tools, because weapons don't function just by themselves. You don't have this thing and you throw it as if it were a stone. No, you need very sophisticated equipment to know how you're going to throw this thing, where it's going to be, how you're going to guide it to get to your target. And that needs a lot of electronics, and electronics need electricity. So unless you have all that backup, you're not going to be able to win the war. You could have all the weapons in the world, you could have all the tanks, all the aircraft carriers. If they don't have fuel, you're going nowhere. You lost. And the same thing with a lot of other things. I mean, I have always thought, how much food do you need to feed all these people? How do you feed them with quality food that's going to provide them with strength, with energy, with protein, with essential fatty acids, vitamins, minerals, hormones? How do you do that? Well, that's again a huge logistics. I don't know how they do this, but it has always amazed me. There must be a lot of ships and aircraft that carry tons of food and eggs and milk and all these things. And even if it's powder, nevertheless, it's a lot. And of course, you need water. So think of very simple things that you need to function if you want to win a war. And the only way you can deliver is if you are prepared. You cannot send ships and planes and then wonder Do we have gas in the tank? You cannot do that. You have to be prepared. You have to think how many hours that this aircraft is going to fly in every mission, or sortie as they call them. How much fuel am I going to need? How many times am I going to be going out? How often is this aircraft going to be running around? And, well, how much fuel am I going to spend every day just to keep this one aircraft moving, or one tank moving? And then you have the people that do it. They have to be fed. They have to sleep. They have to be taken care of in case they get wounded. So there's so many things, so many things. That's why the Pentagon, for example, is such a huge building. Because I'm sure that not only they take care of soldiers, I'm sure they take care of eggs and bread and flour and things that look very, very simple, but are essential to win this war. That's exactly your health. You see, when we live, when we go through our life, we expose ourselves to many challenges. We can fall down, we can get hurt, we can be wounded, we can be assaulted by a virus, by a bacteria, by any disease. A lot of things could happen to our body. There's so many things out there that can become a threat. And we resist, we function. Because this body of ours contains such a wonderful defense system, such a wonderful surveillance system that can detect a lot of things just before they happen. But it needs our support. It needs all that logistics to provide what the body is going to need. And the body gets a bacteria or a microbe, and it has to have an antibody. It has to have an antiseptic. It has to have a substance that's going to block this infectious agent before it produces damage. And in doing that, it's going to need energy. It's going to need supplies. It's going to need proteins. It's going to need so many things that only we can provide to our body. It is within our hand, within our reach. And that's what I want to talk about today. Preparedness, be ready, and get help. Get information first. My friends, I'm Dr. Rodrigo Rodriguez, and I'm talking about preparedness. And I'm using the analogy of a war. When we go to war, not only what we see on the surface is what's important, but what's behind it. In other words, you do not need only soldiers and tanks and aircraft. No, you need so many things behind them. You need tools, you need energy, you need fuel, you need supplies, you need food, you need water, you need uniforms, you need shoes, you name it. Just think of how many things you have to get to make sure that that soldier that's going to go to war needs everything he needs and all the support he needs. And in today's world, it's becoming more sophisticated. I'm sure you need electricians, I'm sure you need mathematicians, physics, because now they send a missile and lands 5 miles away, exactly where you want it to go. So I'm sure you need a lot of people that we don't even begin to understand, and a lot of supplies and things of preparedness and readiness, that if you don't have it, you're not going to win, you're not going to be able to fight. So putting all those things together is what I'm using as an analogy to say, if through my life I find the challenge, how am I going to fight back? How am I going to resist? And how I'm going to come back? How am I going to heal and recuperate and be exactly what I used to be before the disease attacked? Because not only you want to defeat, even in a war, you saw it in World War II, for example, you saw it in the Korean War. Yeah, you win the war, but then you end up with a terrain and cities that have been completely devastated, and you have to rebuild, you have to recreate, you have to do many things, and that is just as important. So that's what we have to think with our bodies. I want to give my body everything my body needs, so my body can function well, but also keep something for a rainy day. Keep antibodies, keep hormones, keep everything the body needs to function well. And if there's need, because of any challenge, I can set in motion a lot of these mechanisms to be able to fight back. So it is my body. This is my body, my country, my most important possession, call it whatever. But I have to be very conscientious that this body of mine has to be in good shape. I have to be aware of things that might be happening. See, now we're going right now after pandemia. I hope it's really completely after a pandemia, but if you know somebody has a contagious disease, of course you keep distance, of course you don't go that near. We have learned it in a very painful way in these couple of years, but we know it's important because I want to preserve my health. And if I ever get sick, I want to have all the elements to fight back. And sometimes, you know, I have read things that are a little bit misleading, because there's some groups of people that I don't know why fight natural ways. I simply do not understand it. I was reading even medical articles, and one of the medical articles says the headline is vitamin D doesn't change the outcome of disease. And then you start reading and it says vitamin D does not change the outcome of disease if you have enough vitamin D. If your body is in good shape with vitamin D, more vitamin D will not make a change. To me, it's almost useless to say that. You don't give vitamin D to a person that has a good level of vitamin D. You don't give iron to a person that has a good level of iron. It could be even toxic. So what you do if you're a doctor? You order a test to know if you have enough vitamin D. Because it's not like looking at your watch and say, oh, I have a good vitamin D today. No, you have to do something to know what your vitamin D level is. And the other part that the article doesn't say is that probably 80% of the population is deficient. So yes, it will not make a change in people that have a good level, but that's only. But on the other hand, when you're deficient on vitamin D, this supplementation on vitamin D can make a big difference in meeting health challenges, because it can help the inflammatory system. It is absolutely essential in the function of the immune system. Viruses, for example, are attacked by T lymphocytes. Well, vitamin D is the one that sets T lymphocytes in motion. You don't have enough vitamin D, you're going to suffer. And we saw it during the pandemic. People with the lowest levels of vitamin D were the ones that suffered the most. People that had good levels of vitamin D are the ones that were doing better. I'm going to give you a number. It is considered, I'm going to use a number that I don't want to go to explain very much because it's a nanomole. A nanomole is a measurement of how much vitamin D you have in the blood. Now, a nanomole is it's really a chemical value that's difficult to explain in this place. But what I could tell you is that for every 10 units we raise this level of vitamin D, you get 30% reduction in overall mortality. Why? Because it helps with a lot of functions. It really does a wonderful thing. It helps the muscle, it helps the bone, it helps the immune system, it helps your balance, it helps your brain. It helps so many functions, the vitamin D. Now, I'm not telling you, go buy vitamin D and take it. I'm telling you, go to your doctor and tell your doctor, doctor, check my vitamin D. Do me a favor. Next time you order a blood test, make sure you measure vitamin D. Because I want to know where I am. If I'm deficient and I can bring my levels to good level, I know I'm going to be better prepared. I'm going to ready myself not only to have a good life, but to meet the challenges. So, yes, it is important. Because I remember a saying that says, when you have a lot of money, having more money doesn't make a big difference in your life. But when you do not have money, a little bit of money can make a big difference. Same with these type of things. If your body is happy and satisfied and well taken care of, keep it up. But if your body is in any sort of deficiency, which is almost half of the American population, and I'm not saying that, is the Center for Disease Control that considers that about 40% of the chronic degenerative diseases that we see today could be prevented by supplementation and lifestyle changes. That's the Center of Disease Control saying that. Okay, then yes, it's important that I take a second look. It's important that I look at what I eat, how I sleep, what is my physical activity level, what I'm doing for myself, and when I go to my doctor and ask my doctor, please, I want to check this. Because I heard, it's going to cost me nothing. It's going to produce no harm. A blood test, they're checking everything. Well, check this also. See, you don't have to put anything in your body if you don't need it. But if you need it, it could make a big difference. As we age, like vitamin D, for example, we produce less because our skin becomes more problematic. Because our skin ages, and I would have to tell you, you see wrinkles, you see spots, aging spots on the skin. That's telling you that your skin is aging. Why? Because we lose, for example, the sebaceous glands, we lose them as we age. That's why it's important to use moisturizers. See, and of course, I could tell you, a moisturizer is not going to be very helpful, will not make too many changes if you are 15 years old. But if you're 50, it can make a big difference. And you don't have to go to fancy. You don't have to go to really expensive stuff. You can do simple things, but keep your skin moist. So next time you go to the pharmacy, next time you go to the store, make sure you buy a moisturizer. Most of them are very good. Most of them are very good. So don't think that if you don't buy a very expensive thing, it's not going to work. No, there are many things that are very simple that work very well. And actually, I prefer people to use things that don't have any coloring, that they don't have any scent, that they are simple. But do them regularly. And if you can do them, you begin doing them once a day. But if you're 60 or over, you have to do them twice a day. And that might help a lot with the wrinkles, that might help a lot with aging spots. Even if some doctors tell you there is no way you can help that, sure it can. Because it's only natural that as we age, our skins age. Well, that's a simple remedy. Share it with everybody, and we'll keep on talking. I'll be with you right back. My dear friends, today I have been talking about preparedness and care and surveillance of keeping everything in check. So, number one, we can bypass, because we can, prevent disease. Second, if we ever get a problem, that we're going to be able to pass it well, to survive, to resist. And third, to be able to come back. That's very important. So, if all that happens, then I am doing my job. I'm Dr. Rodrigo Rodriguez, and I have been a doctor for over 50 years. And probably because of my family situation, my father, my mother, I was very lucky because I had two grandmothers that were very intuitive about how to take care of the health of anybody. They were always plentiful of advice and guidance, and they were very loving and lovingly telling you what to do, what not to do. I belong to a generation where when we used castor oil. Those of you that ever tried it know that sounds terrible, tastes worse, but they did their effort. I belong to a generation where children were lined up because they were going to be getting their spoonful of cod liver oil. Now we know they were absolutely right. Cod liver oil with all the omega-3s, etc., makes a big difference. Now let me tell you something. We say cod liver oil. I always wonder why the oil from the liver. Well, it's very simple. The cod, for metabolic reasons, stores all the fat in the liver, not in the flesh. That's why when you talk about the essential oils from the fish, that's the cod, you talk about their liver. So it's cod liver oil. Whereas the big difference, for example, would be a salmon. If you take a salmon, the fats are distributed all through their meat. So when you take a piece of salmon, before you cook it, just rub it in your hand and you're going to see how much fat it has. Good fat. Life health giving fat. So that's why it's important that we eat fish, ocean fish. That's my preference. Deep, cold water ocean fish, like salmon, like cod, like swordfish. This sort of big fishes is what we should be having. Tuna. And by doing that, we're helping our bodies. And because of all this upbringing, because of all this knowledge, when I started as a doctor, in the beginning of my career, I was disappointed to see that many of the good advices I have heard and followed were not applied in medicine. We kind of, we're coming out of the Second World War, I was born actually in the middle of the war, and coming out of it, we discovered penicillin, we discovered sulfa drugs, so they were the miracle drugs. And soon we discovered other antibiotics and we defeated tuberculosis and so on. So doctors became, I don't know, very passionate about writing a prescription because that pill would save your life. But we completely disregarded self-care, BioCare. And I call it BioCare because we're living, and bio is the Greek root for life. So when I say BioCare, I say taking care of my life. And when I say care, I want you to remember that care is a proactive word. It means looking after. It means helping. It means promoting. It means all that. So you're helping, you're guarding your biological life by BioCaring. And then many years ago, I started working with other doctors that believed in the same direction, and we founded what today is BioCare Hospital. And we created a hospital where, of course, food would be the foundation, would be the cornerstone of anything we did. Because we needed people to be fed, not filled. We needed food that provided everything the body needs. Vitamins and minerals and proteins and essential fatty acids and good quality carbohydrates. So the body could function as it was designed to function. We have done a lot of things with everything. Like, for example, we have cows that are fed with corn. Well, God didn't do corn-eating cows. We produce them. Cows were to graze on fresh herbs from the ground. And we created hens that live in a cage that they cannot move anywhere. They don't have a rooster. They don't have a natural diet. And they're in that cage with a lamp. So they're fooled into believing their systems are full so they can produce more eggs in 24 hours. And they're fed even our pets, they're fed pellets of food. God knows what's in there. You have to trust the label. I don't believe in labels. I believe in God-given food. And that comes from a farm, that comes from the field, not from a factory. And that's what we do. That's why we needed a hospital that had a large kitchen, well stocked, where we could use bread that's well fermented. If bread is not fermented, it's going to damage you. You see, bread appeared in history as wheat that was probably left somewhere, and the bacteria of the soil, the bacteria of the air, started producing this fermentation. And all these microbes lived on the gluten, on the carbohydrate of the wheat, and produced a different type of product. And in doing so, they were producing carbon dioxide, which are the little air things, air pockets that are formed when you ferment a bread. And that bread is light, that bread is digestible, that bread is good. But it needs at least 12 hours of fermentation. Nobody does that. You use baking soda, put it in the thing in 2 hours or less, and that's what you're eating. Then people tell me, doctor, I'm intolerant to gluten because every time I eat bread, that's not bread. That's a lump of flour, refined flour, to make it worse. Our bread, we use barley. At BioCare Hospital, I put 10 to 15% of barley to every piece of bread. We make our bread every day, every meal. You're going to have fresh, fermented bread. And that barley makes a big difference. It makes a big difference because when you cook with refined flour, you remove the kernel. You remove the bran. That's no good. When you grind barley, there's no way you can retire the bran because it's embedded in the seed. So when you prepare barley, it is full of digestible fiber. It's food for your intestinal flora. It's going to help so many things in your body. That's why we thought we have to do this, we have to cook this way, we have to steam. When you cook with water, you have a safety valve. You will never be able to raise more than certain temperature because the water turns into steam. So when you boil, when you simmer, when you do these type of things, you are doing yourself a big favor. So that's what we needed. And then we needed to check for vitamin levels, nutritional levels, etc., to supplement those that were deficient. And at BioCare, we see many people that are very sick, and I'm going to talk about that in a moment. But they're going to get the same type of care, only probably a little bit more sophisticated, a little bit more instrumented, because these people are many times, unfortunately, very weak, in bad shape. But nevertheless, that's going to be the cornerstone of their treatment. And by doing all that, we see how people start recuperating, how people start smiling again, how people start regaining hope that they're going to be getting better. But when we see people, we see them with so many problems that are self-inflicted. They're bloated, they're constipated, they're weak, they have high levels of sugar, they have inflammation all over their body. They have all these things that are self-inflicted. Once again, the CDC in Atlanta tells us that 40% of the normal pathology that we see today in hospitals could be prevented by supplementation and lifestyle changes. Why? Because 70% of the diseases we're facing today are self-inflicted. They didn't come from a pandemic. They didn't come from a bacteria. They didn't come from a microbe. We produce them through chronic inflammation, through very poor lifestyle choices. And we're damaging our bodies. These bodies that were created in perfection, we are damaging them. So today is the day of reflecting on everything and start making changes for us first and help others, particularly our children. Let's show them a different lifestyle, and they will be healthy, and they will be happy, and we will enjoy them forever. We'll be back. My dear friends, I'm Dr. Rodrigo Rodriguez, and the program today, from my point of view, is very important, because one of the most difficult things to achieve when you do what I do is to convince you that self-care, BioCare, can go a long way. That you can prevent most of the diseases that you're afraid of. Because right now, statistics tells me that seven deaths of every 10 are going to be produced by diseases that are literally self-inflicted. That we're producing them, that we're helping them, that we're even paying money to get that disease. And I'm talking about cancer, and I'm talking about diabetes, and I'm talking about high blood pressure, I'm talking about heart attacks, I'm talking about strokes, I'm talking about gangrene, because circulation doesn't go anymore to one limb. I'm talking about all these things. Alzheimer's. Why are they self-inflicted, you might wonder? Because of our lifestyle, because of poor choices. We smoke, we drink, we buy garbage food. Our idea is to fill ourselves up, not to feed our body. We don't have that philosophy. And that's what the first thing we have to do. We have to change that and say, wait a minute, I'm going to have lunch, I'm going to have dinner, I'm going to have breakfast. Why do I have to eat? Just because I'm hungry? Or it's going to serve a purpose? And the right answer is the second. Whatever you put in your mouth should serve a purpose. So you have to say, I'm going to buy foods that are rich in this and that and the other to avoid disease. And I see so many people so neglected. And it's not a matter of money. I see many people that are very well off, yet they have all these nutritional deficiencies. I see people today, Americans, that have diseases that really belong to the third world because they don't have the money. Because of low vitamin D, because of low vitamin B12, because of things like that. Or the contrary, which is the most common, because of excess amount of food. And it's not just calories, it's just the poor quality of food. We just do not want to stop and think that the times of eat whatever and have comfort food, etc., should be over. That from today on, I have to change the way I live because I want to be healthy. Now, if for any reason you lost your health, you need a place like BioCare Hospital. Why? Because yes, we see people with the disease. Yes, we do diagnosis. Yes, we do x-rays. Yes, we do medical intervention. Yes, we try to help that. But we always take into consideration that that disease has set in a body that probably has been very neglected, that it has chronic inflammation, that has immune deficiency, that has some sort of a problem or deficiency that has not been fulfilled. And the only way to bypass that, the only way to overcome that problem is to help that person to recuperate. And we see many patients at BioCare Hospital that come in very bad shape. They arrive in a stretcher, they arrive on a wheelchair, they don't want to eat. One thing that happens is once your level of nutrition goes under a certain point, you're not hungry anymore. You see that with adolescents with anorexia. They stop eating and all of a sudden they don't desire food anymore. And this happens with a lot of chronic patients that we get. And family tries to push food. Oh, come on, just one more spoonful. Oh, come on, just a bite. No, at BioCare Hospital, we're going to put a central catheter and use parenteral nutrition. What's that? Intravenous nutrition. I'm going to put in the body of those people all those things that I feel are deficient, and I'm going to put all the energy, all the supplies the body needs without having to beg the patient to eat. I know that's coming because I have seen many people that were virtually sleeping full time, and then we start doing this. I don't have to wake them up, I don't have to bother them, I don't have to do anything, yet food, nutrition, supplementation, everything is getting into that body. And 2-3 days later, one day they wake up and they say, by the way, what's for lunch? Because as they recuperate, they start developing hunger again. They start feeling the need to eat. And if the food that's going to be brought to them is completely wisely chosen, then the results are fantastic. And I tell you, one thing doesn't exclude the other. We continue treating the cancer, we continue treating the diabetes, we continue to treat the heart condition, etc. But we are rebuilding the body so the body can help us to not only bypass the disease or improve, but to be able to continue healing and healing and healing and avoiding future complications of the primary problem they came with. So we're going to be able to get results that, I tell you, if I had to describe it in one word, I would say smile. It really fills my heart every time I go through a hospital and I see a family member, I see a patient that comes by and smiles. I don't need anything. I don't need anything more. Just to see that smile fills my day. Because I know that person is happy, is looking at good results. So all this is very important, and this is what we do day in, day out. And I don't want to jump and say, I think I'm going. I want you to think of it. I want you to go to the web page. I want you to go to the social media of your choice, of your preference. Because we're in Twitter, we are in Facebook, we have a channel in YouTube where you will listen to testimonials of many people that have been to BioCare Hospital. I want you to be in contact with us. You can ask any question. You can send your comments. You can have a consultation with one of our doctors with no charge whatsoever, no strings attached. But you might want to ask questions like, Doctor, this is my problem. What can you do for me? And then make your choice. But I tell you, I'm very proud of what we do. I'm very proud of the staff that we have. And I know there are many things we can do because we are both a group of people that truly believes in what we do, but also we are a regular medical institution. That's why we can do what we do. That's why we can use intravenous nutrition. That's why we can do hyperbaric oxygen. We can do medical hyperthermia. We can do sophisticated therapies that can change a lot of the things that are happening in your body and to support the recovery. So you can have a full recovery of your condition. So we can help you to rebuild your whole body from inside out. It's not a matter of just making you look good or just say, oh yeah, I feel good. I don't want you to feel good. I want you to be good. Because of course, if I gave you some cocaine, you might feel happy about it. I don't know, but that's just an idea. But no, the idea is that your body works better, functions better, and that's going to bring a smile to your face, and it's going to bring a smile to the face of the people that you love, because they can see the change. I have many patients that I tell them, don't believe me. I want you to believe the people that love you when you go back home and they take a look and they can tell, oh my God, what did you do? There is a difference. Because health, when it comes from the inside out, will manifest itself in many, many ways. And then you start the road to recovery. I want you to start thinking of all those things. I want you to finish listening to this program and then go to your pantry and then go to your fridge and be honest with you and say, should I really be eating this? Should I really be giving this to my children? Do they deserve that? Or do they deserve better? Do they deserve a parent that's going to be conscientious about their well-being and long-term health? So I'm going to teach them different. I'm going to show them that artichokes are fantastic, that arugula makes a great salad, that cauliflower, if you prepare it, there are 100 ways to prepare it, could be very tasty, that yes, some meat is good, but we shouldn't eat more than 3-4 ounces a day, that fish is fantastic, and we should be doing it at least 2 days a week. So if we start learning all those things and transferring that knowledge to our personal BioCare and to those that depend on us, you are doing a great job. And any piece of advice you need, any guidance you might need, just go to the social media of your choice, ask a question, and I'll be very happy to provide with an honest-to-God answer. And I'm going to tell you what I think. And you don't have to do it, but it can hopefully guide you and inspire you to make these changes. If we don't do them, we're doomed. We're seeing diabetes as we never saw it before. And it is not because we're living longer. Many doctors will tell you, sure, we have a lot more disease because we're living longer. We're not living longer. And many young people are affected. So let's help us all. I'll be with you next Friday.